My name is Catherine, and I'm an illustrator who makes cute stationery, stickers, and small gifts in my home studio. I decided that 2025 was the perfect year to start doing some dopamine decorating, so I painted this rainbow starburst mural on the wall of my tiny workspace. In this video, you can follow along the time lapse as I paint the wall and hear some of my tips and lessons learned along the way. If you want to hear more about my art process, see my creative projects, or hear how I run my art business, be sure to hit like and subscribe down below. Let's get painting. I started dreaming up this mural back in January. In true ADHD fashion, I actually got around to buying the paints in April and then finally started painting in May. And then it took me until mid-July to actually finish the wall. First of all, my biggest hang-up was overthinking how to lay out the stripes. I started out calculating the area of the wall and then calculating how much paint I would need for X number of stripes, and then trying and failing to calculate how wide to space each stripe on the ceiling. In the end, I just decided to wing it. I thought that maybe irregularly sized stripes would be more interesting to look at, and I was right. To lay out the stripes, I just rolled the tape right on the wall from ceiling to corner. You can see pretty obviously in these clips that the lines are not perfectly straight. That doesn't bother me, but if it would bother you, you could use a protractor and string and pencil them out first. My biggest recommendation, if you're going to do this, is to buy the most expensive tape you can afford. I know that most expensive doesn't always mean best, but in my experience with painter's tape, it pretty much does. You want something with a strong adhesive that will still peel cleanly at the end of the project. It will save you so much time and heartache to get good tape and tape off all your trim and the ceiling really carefully. After I taped each of the stripes, I also went back and pressed my thumb along the edges to seal them really well. My wall has a teeny tiny bit of texture to it because it's plaster, and good tape was extra important for keeping the lines of the stripes sharp. Seriously, don't skimp on tape. For my paint, I bought sample-sized jars at Sherwin-Williams. This isn't sponsored, they just happen to be the closest paint store to my house, and the folks that work there are super helpful. The sample size was way more than enough paint for this project, and I was really happy with the quality of the paint. The most vibrant colors, like this red, needed 3 coats to get truly opaque, but the rest only needed 1 or 2, and it went on really smoothly with very little dripping. Now for a little ASMR tape pulling break. Speaking of drips, it's not visible in these clips, but I took a major shortcut by opting not to drop cloth around my paint area. This was for 3 reasons. First of all, it's a tiny space, and having a drop cloth down in there would make it hard to move around. I was afraid I'd end up tripping and spilling paint and making a bigger mess. Second of all, I'm a pretty experienced painter, and I know myself to be obsessively tidy with my paint. I'm always really careful to wipe extra paint off the edge of my brush, and I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to drip paint all over the place. And finally, I was using a small brush and holding my paint containers close to me. If I had been using a big brush or rollers and carrying them from a paint pan across the bed and floor to the wall, I would have put down some craft paper and plastic sheeting. You've probably noticed in the clips so far that I decided to paint every other stripe to start and re-taped for the second round of colors. This might not have been the most efficient way to do things, and actually the first round of colors took me the longest to paint. I also learned that waiting to pull all of the tape at the same time for a big reveal really took a toll on my motivation. So when it came time to do the second round of colors, I decided to tape one stripe at a time and pull the tape as I went. This made such a big difference in my motivation. Having those little reveals every time I finished a color made it feel like I was farther along than I actually was and helped me keep painting. I finished the second round of colors so much faster as a result, less than a week, whereas the first round took me like 2 months. You probably also noticed that I went from painting in leggings and hoodies at the start to tank tops and shorts at the finish, and that just proves how freaking long it took me to paint this mural. Finally, it is time for the final tape pull. And then I got to this little corner, and the ceiling paint pulled off with the tape. Ugh, luckily it's in a place that isn't super noticeable, but it still makes me so mad. I made it through the entire project without any drips and without any paint leaking through the tape. And then on the final pull, I get this garbage. After all that, here are my main takeaways. Number 1, don't make things more complicated than they need to be. Number 2, buy good tape and tape thoroughly. And finally, go for the little wins. This is true for any big project, I think. Having smaller milestones that you can enjoy along the way, like pulling tape every time I finish a new color of stripe, will help make the process more enjoyable and keep you motivated through the end. All in all, I couldn't be happier with my new wall. It makes my workspace so much brighter and happier. I love hanging out on the bed while I sketch or read in the mornings, and having this colorful wall here puts me in a good mood for the day. Have you or would you ever paint something non-traditional on your walls? Tell me in the comments below. Be sure to check out the description for my complete list of mural painting supplies. Thanks for watching. See you next time.